No more speculating. We all know now where and when the Titans will be playing in the regular season this year, as the NFL does their nice dramatic unveiling of the schedule, as they do every year. And I feel like more and more of it just gets leaked out before it actually gets unveiled every year. But the picture's finally in place. I'm Elijah Campbell. She's Michelle Knezovic. Campbell Knezovic here on ESPN 102.5 The Game and 106.3, which you can hear as well. Set as a preset. If you're not getting 102.5, just flip it over to 106.3 and you'll hear us crystal clear through there. And Michelle, I'm looking at the schedule right now. They're going to open up with the Giants on week 1. We can even start there. Week 1, Giants at home, a 3:25 kickoff on Fox. I'm not going to lie, I was a little bummed out. I think this is a very anticlimactic first, not climatic, like an exciting first game. Like the Giants are just a boring team. We're not going to beat around the bush. I think they're just brutally boring. But it might be a tough game. They got better in the draft, but the difference in attractiveness from last year's opener against a team like the Cardinals to this year's opener against the Giants has been like a night and day. I do not find myself just like overly pumped for this matchup.
Listen, Elijah, I have grown up in New York, a non-Giants and non-New York sports fan, essentially.
Good for you.
Non-Knicks, non-Giants,
Jets.
I guess Jets, you can include that. It's actually New Jersey Jets. And as soon as I saw the first week game, I was like, oh,
yeah,
great.
Yeah. It doesn't get you sparked. No excitement there.
Listen, I will say, I'm not trying to jinx it or anything. I know people are superstitious, but at least we can say that the Titans will probably go 1-0.
Yeah, because like that division doesn't scare me. Outside of two teams, there are two teams in that division that I think are just any good, and that's the Eagles and Cowboys. And now, granted, I think the Cowboys are really good. I think the Eagles are really good now. I think they got a whole lot better this offseason. I think they probably improved their most. Yeah, I wonder why. I wonder if they might have added a receiver that might have played here for the first 3 years of his career and had a pair of 1,000-yard seasons.
And loves Twitter.
Before dramatically getting himself a royal exit from the team in a span of like 2 or 3 weeks. That's been a drama that seemingly never ended. But
never.
And like speaking of them, they are going to play in Philadelphia week 13, December 4th. That's going to be a noon kickoff on Fox. That's going to be one of the more intriguing games as well. And I'll go ahead and read through a lot of these because there's 4 primetime games too. Week 2, the Titans and Bills will play on Monday Night Football again this year. This time it'll be at Buffalo. They play the Raiders the following week in Indy in week 4 at the Commanders. The first time they will play Washington as the Commanders. Then a bye week. Then you get to play the Colts at home again. 10:30 they're playing, or October 30th playing at the Texans. Then they have a primetime game on Sunday night at the Chiefs in week 9. They play Russell Wilson and the Broncos the following week after that. And then Aaron Rodgers on a Thursday Night Football in Green Bay in November in week 11, the week after that. Then you have the ultimate revenge game, Joe Burrow and the Bengals coming here on November 27th. And then the December 4th game in Philadelphia. Then you have Jags, Chargers, Texans on Saturday. And then a Cowboys Thursday Night Football game, kind of like the 49ers one this year on December 29th. And then week 18 at Jacksonville. So that's what the schedule looks like. And Michelle, when I read through all of that, especially the murderer's row they have from week 9 to week 13, that is tough. That is a tough stretch of games right there because you are either playing top of the line quarterbacks or you're playing teams like the Eagles who got a lot better because they traded for your best receiver and then loaded up and drafted 2 of the best players on arguably the greatest college football defense we've ever seen.
Correct. Precisely, yeah. Elijah. Even though that Philadelphia game is in that stretch of games, not only do they have your former wide receiver 1, there's just going to be a lot of, probably drama surrounding that game. I can imagine some Twitters.
Some deleted tweets.
Forth. Yeah. And I guess you could say, from an outsider looking in, we're obviously not on these teams and you see these tweets and it's like, oh, that's going to be awkward. Or he'll go up to Vrabel and will they say anything before the game? I feel like everybody will be kind of watching the pregame of did he look at him? Did he not? Is he going to go over there pregame? Yada, yada. And it was funny because we were talking about this on Robby and Rexrode on Friday, and we had a texter text in, and it was like, called shot. AJ Brown is out with an injury on December 24th or December 4th when they play the Tennessee Titans.
It's a hell of a called shot. That's when you got to put on ice right there, because if that ends up landing, that's pretty impressive. But especially, it's not unlikely giving AJ Brown's injury history. His knee has caused him to miss some time in the NFL, and obviously playing in the NFL with 17 games now, 17 games, 18 weeks, you're going to see a lot more of players not playing every single game of the season. That's actually kind of likely, but I am just not even ready. Not ready in the slightest for the overanalyzing that's going to be done about what happens between A.J. Brown and Mike Vrabel and all of them. Like, they're in a handshake line, or do they shake hands? Did they acknowledge each other? Like, that is going to be a narrative that is going to be absolutely beaten down to a pulp from November 28th, the day after the Bengals game, all the way leading up to the day of the Eagles game on December 4th. But now here's the intriguing question, Michelle. Is I've had this conversation with Tehran in terms of what's like the most intriguing matchup on the schedule, and there are a ton of them, just because the way the divisions are this year. Like, you're playing all the teams in the AFC West, which is loaded with quarterbacks. When the worst quarterback in the division is Derek Carr, you probably have the greatest quarterbacking division of all time. That's who the Titans have to play in the AFC this season. And then on the NFC side, it's the NFC East, which usually every year is pretty bad, and the Commanders and Giants aren't going to be very good, but the Eagles and Cowboys will. But out of all these games that are on the schedule, Michelle, which one is the one that you would be circling with the largest Sharpie marker on the calendar to make sure that you could get to?
To be honest, both of the Colts games. Yep. I mean, they are really early in the season and they're close together. And the Colts got significantly better this offseason. I mean, you can talk about, the game. You can talk about maybe the more high profile games when they play like the Packers or something like that, when those will, up their resume as it does head into postseason. But if you're looking at it from you want to win the division again under Mike Vrabel and solidify that for your franchise, I mean, those Colts games, you're going to have your team ready early, because they could be the tiebreaker. If you split the games, early in the season, then, you're going to have your resume builder, and then obviously your record will play into that. But I think those are going to be really important early. And the Colts made big moves this offseason. I mean, they got a good quarterback. I mean, I know that Matt Ryan has been on the Falcons these last couple of years, and forever. Not last couple of years.
They just haven't been very good the last couple of years. Yes. Yeah.
Haven't been very good these last couple of years, but I mean, there's a guy who's a leader. I mean, he's made it very clear on social media. He is ready to be a Colt, right? Like posting videos of welcoming all of their new draft picks. And last year was great. I mean, you beat the Colts every time, but I think this division is going to be a little bit harder this year. Yeah. And I mean, who knows what Jacksonville's going to look like with a new coach, with Trevor Lawrence in his second year. They've added a couple weapons for him.
Like, I do think I'm with you right there too, because with Jacksonville getting better, I think they can win 6, maybe 7 games this year. The biggest addition they got to the team was the subtraction of Urban Meyer, which everything that I've heard from people that are inside the building last year in Jacksonville is, I don't know if you could conjure up a more toxic workplace environment. And honestly, it is amazing whether you're like in pro football, whether you are in school, whether you are in any like working environment, when that kind of toxicity leaves the workplace, how much more productive and better everybody gets at their job, and how much more comfortable they are. And someone like with Trevor Lawrence's talent, who still needs some tweaking here and there, and is getting it from someone like Doug Peterson, who you got the best years of Carson Wentz from with Doug Peterson as a head coach. I do think there is Doug Peterson's got a good track record of kind of bringing guys along, and as being a really good offensive mind, as an Andy Reid disciple. Like, I mean, that's a perfect fit. Jacksonville can mess around and win a few games, and like we said about the Colts too, that they got a lot better because the obvious additions. I think Carson Wentz and Matt Ryan might be a lateral move, because I think, honestly, outside of one game and like 2 meme-worthy passes, Carson Wentz had a pretty solid season. But
it was fine.
Yeah, solid. Yeah, exactly. I don't think he was the reason they were winning games, but I think he really kept them in a lot of them. But they really, the addition of Stephon Gilmore, whatever is left of him, I think is still a plus for that Colts defense. And they were still able to get Yannick Ngakoue, and then they drafted really well, too. Like, they drafted a couple weapons. Like, Jelani Woods from Virginia, kid's 6'7", and is a freak, like an athletic monster. Teron Davenport has been talking with him since January. And TD was showing me clips of this guy in January, running routes and catching passes as a 6'7" tight end. He's going to be playing for the Colts. They drafted him 6'7". This guy,
dude, you want to play basketball too?
Oh, this guy will catch a post. He'll fade in the end zone. He can also grab 15 rebounds and set screens and roll to the basket, and catch alley-oops. Like he's one of those kind of players. And then they drafted Alec Pierce too, sneaky, athletic wide receiver from Cincinnati. Was the favorite target of Desmond Ridder, and was really productive in college. A guy I really liked as a sleeper later in this loaded wide receiver draft. Like, the Colts did a really good job of stacking up this year. But
well, Elijah, I mean, just on that front, like, you're getting Matt Ryan, new quarterback, a leader, right? It's no question that Matt Ryan is a great leader. He's going into this organization. I have no question in my mind that he is going to, reach out and make sure that he establishes, a good connection with his, not only Michael Pittman Jr., who's going to be his main wide receiver, but also his rookie wide receivers and also his rookie tight end, and really make sure that they're on the same page and be a teacher and just be that leader that Frank Reich and Chris Ballard have been looking for in that organization for the last, 5 years since Andrew Luck was there?
Yeah. I mean, It is amazing that the quarterback progression the Indianapolis Colts have gone through. Like, it's always, especially the last 3 years, because now you're on starting quarterback number 3 in the last 3 years, that they have been just such a rotating chair of guys ever since Andrew Luck retired. But those two Colts games are going to be crucial because, like you said, the division is getting better, and the schedule as a whole is absolutely loaded. And if you are going to split a lot of those tough games and those tough stretches, it was almost miraculous the way the Titans ran through their tough gauntlet of their schedule last season, right before Derrick Henry got hurt. They still were able to run through a good part of that schedule unscathed. I think it's going to be a lot harder to do that this year because I think the schedule might be a little tougher. But coming back from the break, I will tell you, the one game that I have not just circled in Sharpie and make sure that I will have both eyes and all my attention on. But this is a game on the schedule that can gauge the mental toughness of this Titans team pretty late in the season. I'll tell you which game that is on the other side. Justin Campbell, Knezovic right here on ESPN 102.5 The Game and streaming on the Game Nashville app.
Empire Auto Parts has opened a brand new location in Nashville, Tennessee. They're hosting a hiring event with giveaways, sign-on bonuses, and more happening at Holiday Inn Express at the Crossings, 201 Crossings Place, May 16th through 20th from 9 a.m. to noon or 2 to 5. Empire Auto Parts offers hourly pay, full benefits, 401k matching, and more. Current job openings for warehouse associate, delivery drivers, customer service agents, account managers, and dispatchers. Apply now on Indeed at Empire Auto Parts Inc. Jobs or visit their website at EmpireAutoParts.com.
Hey, it's Chase McCabe here to tell you about Dr. Kelly Rice Family Cosmetic and Dental Sleep Medicine. Dr. Rice, listen, we all have cavities, but what's the best way to try and keep them from happening?
Cavities are like any other health condition. You don't really know you have one until it gets bad. Recently, I saw a patient for treatment that they had been putting off. Something that could have been simple to fix 6 months ago turned out to need a root canal and a crown. Postponing treatment costs more and takes time away from work.
Nobody wants a root canal, so you're right. Regular checkups are very important.
Well, we do things differently. I want to let people know that if they're afraid of pain or worried about the cost, they are not alone. Don't be embarrassed. We understand. Give us a call at 615-373-4488. That's KellyERice.com.
Dr. Kelly Rice Family Cosmetic and Dental Sleep Medicine. If you don't have dental insurance, no problem. Be sure to join their membership club. Just visit KellyERice.com or call 615-373-4488 now to schedule your cleaning and checkup. You'll certainly be glad you did.
In a world where human interaction seems to be reduced to chats and clicks and emails, where transactions are measured only by speed, where corporate policies overrule common sense, sometimes you just want to go old school. Welcome to Genesis Diamonds, a refreshing experience where personal relationships and authentic interaction are the norm, not the exception. At Genesis, you're here celebrating something awesome in your life, and we want to know all about it. We want to hear your story, listen to your requests, and be a meaningful part of whatever occasion this is. A proposal, an anniversary, a birthday, graduation, push gift, sweet 16. If it's important to you, it's important to us. So we don't care how long it takes. We're not paid on commission, and we're not beholden to some corporate rule book. We just want to help you get what you want to make it into a special memory. So take a break from modern shopping and go old school with us at Genesis. Let's start a real relationship that you can count on for life. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Nothing makes one feel better than the ability to give to someone in need. You have the power to give the most important gift of all, the gift of life, with a donation of your blood. Supplies are desperately low in our area, and your help is needed. Blood Assurance is a nonprofit community blood center that supplies our Middle Tennessee area hospitals. Please find it in your heart to donate. Be someone's hero today. Go to bloodassurance.org to find a location or blood drive near you. That's bloodassurance.org. Give blood, give local, save lives with Blood Assurance.
Hey, this is Phil Forsberg, and this is Smashville.
Forsberg a shot, broken up in front, given back to Forsberg, and here come the Habs.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 1025 The Game.
I look at the Tennessee Titans schedule, which was unveiled this past week, as Jimmy Buffett brings us back here on Campbell and Knezovic, ESPN 125 The Game. I'm Elijah Campbell. She's Michelle Knezovic. Jared Cassidy playing the tunes behind the glass here. And there's one game that I look at when I look at the schedule, and I instantly think of, because of the week it's at, the game surrounding it, and the circumstances in which these teams played last season and what happened to the Titans after that game, that I look at for the 2022 season, and I will probably, if I'm forced to make a decision on how I'm going to feel about this team in terms of the direction of the franchise, this game in Week 12 against the Bengals could be it. For many reasons, Michelle. Number one, obviously, it's the rematch of the playoff game. I think that's the obvious thing, right? The number two obvious thing is they're pretty damn good. Like the last time we saw the Bengals, they were in the Super Bowl and were one drive away from becoming Super Bowl champions. And in all honesty, they were two decent offensive linemen that weren't turnstiles away from being Super Bowl champions. But the biggest thing, too, is this is the game that when John Robinson was asked to reflect on at the Combine, brought him to tears. It's the game when Ryan Tannehill asked about how he's handled that game, has mentioned having to go to therapy because of that game. Nothing wrong with going to therapy. I highly recommend it. One of my favorite things to do to make sure that that we're all good upstairs. But that game did a number mentally on this Tennessee Titans team, and that game has done a number on the entire psyche of the organization and even how the fans and media have outlooked this franchise moving forward. There were some questions about Ryan Tannehill's ability to lead the Titans to a Super Bowl before that game, and now the questions after a 3-interception game in that playoffs became abundant after that game. And then it was the Titans may never get a chance like that again. Well, they get their redemption game on Week 12, November 27th at noon here in Nissan Stadium against the Bengals. And Michelle, to me, that is the one game on this schedule I cannot miss and will tell me more about this team than almost any other game.
First mute of the day.
The first. We have to give that a nickname. Like we have to call that like the Rexrode or something. I think he's the Willie. Willie's catching up with him on the muting coming back from break.
Well, it's funny because I've been we were having some stream issues, but our stream is up and running. So feel free to, use the stream that's on Twitter and YouTube and Twitch and all of that jazz. Just a little quick promotion right there.
That's right.
But Elijah, don't worry. I heard everything you said about the Bengals while I was doing that, working on unmuting myself. But no, hey, I completely agree. And I think every single point that you brought up is incredibly valid. I mean, just the magnitude of seeing a general manager, at a loss of words and crying. Not a post game, not a post Super Bowl win, post Super Bowl lose, not in a high, stress environment of so much adrenaline and just, right after an event or something like that, which is, you see it a little bit more. Coaches get choked up or talking about something, but genuinely at the combine, surrounded by a couple media members, and just kind of lost it, and I think for fans, it allowed them to see, but it also allowed them to kind of dagger even more, because this was obviously a couple months after that game, and dagger even more at how close they were to winning it, or at least going to the Super Bowl. And, I think every point, when Ryan Tannehill spoke, the highly anticipated first press conference from Ryan Tannehill, obviously he was going to be daggered with a lot of different questions, and he was, but I admire the fact that, he was really open on it, because on our show, the callers, the texters, on every show on 102.5 The Game for months, on Twitter, the hashtags, you think of just as a person and from a human standpoint, I get it. He gets paid millions and millions of dollars to be the quarterback of this Tennessee football team. And it's his job not to throw interceptions.
Take care of the football. I think that's probably one of the most paramount responsibility a quarterback has, is take care of the damn football, because you can still be a good quarterback and win games despite throwing it for 400 yards in a game, or being the hero. Like, you can be the hero by simply not giving the other team the ball.
Exactly. And hey, you throw one, that's a little bit more forgiving, right? Because every quarterback, like, if you're not going to throw one, like, damn, even Patrick Mahomes throws them, but to have it just end like that in such a honestly tragic situation. And I'm sorry for fans listening if I'm, bringing it up for you, that this 100% game is going to be of high interest. I mean, Joe Burrow's got another year underneath him. They're off the Super Bowl run. They're here for a vengeance. Their roster got better. He actually has some sort of an O-line that'll make him not the most sacked quarterback in the NFL this year. At least we hope, because if you're the Bengals, you definitely don't want him getting hurt. And, if he can win a game against Tennessee, getting sacked 9 times, Tennessee better come out, hungry. I mean, Ryan Tannehill, he better be like one-arm push-ups all week.
The ultimate, like a Rocky montage of his preparation to get into that game. Oh, it's incredible. Michelle,
but also not let the mental aspect, like, he can't, if he, like, in that game,
specifically?
It's early. I'm only a couple sips into my coffee.
I haven't even finished this first one yet. Like, we're
words are hard. Words are hard sometimes. But in that game, in particular, he needs to have a great game. He needs to.
I think it could do wonders for him if he does, because this might be like one of my favorite things about pro sports is, like, when you look in hindsight of the rise and fall of certain teams that reach their window, you look at certain games that either kickstart that, and you look at certain games that almost close it. Like I'm trying to think of a good example, like the Matt Ryan Atlanta Falcons example. Like, that was a team that was building up. They got a really good start. They had some really good regular seasons, and then they had a team that was a Super Bowl contender for like a 3 or 4 year stretch, reached the Super Bowl, and even though that team still had some juice afterwards, like, they were still set to be good in the years after, they suffered a 28-3 or a loss in which they blew a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl, and they never recovered, because franchises don't often recover from like losses like that. There are turning points in Super Bowl or championship windows that you have a certain mentally demoralizing loss that almost sets you back, even though you have the horses to make runs the next year. And what the Titans had, and you can tell because of the type of loss it was, like you mentioned the 3 interceptions, you mentioned getting the 9 sacks and still losing. Like, you were the better team in that game and didn't show it because you made the more crucial errors. You made the more mistakes in that game. And as Robert Nealon used to always say, the team that makes the fewest mistakes will win, and that's exactly what happened in a game that the Bengals weren't better than the Titans, and the Titans blew a chance at might have been the strongest road or the easiest road to a Super Bowl that they've had in a long, long time, and bouncing back from that is tough. That's what makes this season so tough. But when you get back into the same stadium against the same team, same quarterback on the other side, a lot of the same players that you threw interceptions to on the other side of the football, a team that is just absolutely running it back for the next year to try to make another run for their window. The demoralizing loss that the Titans had in that game that might have maybe, I don't want to be presumptuous here, the beginning of the end of the Super Bowl window, and the Cincinnati Bengals beginning of their Super Bowl window is going to really come full circle here at Nissan Stadium. And there's we're all obviously taking your texts and calls. 931. I was going to say my phone number over the air. Don't want to do that. Don't call me. 615-737-1025. You can tweet me at _Campbell3, but please do not call me.
Do not call Elijah, but Elijah, really quick.
Yes.
We have a spicy text we need to get to from one of our good friends who always texts in. Yes.
You read
nice
my
little
mind.
tease there.
You read my mind because it is a really good text, and I'd like to address that. On the other side, like I said, 615-737-1025. Don't call me, but call us on the show as you're listening to Campbell and Knezovic right here on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Darren McFarland.
And a mulligan that we all look for in golf. Lord knows our game could use it.
Willie Donick.
Outworked and outperformed a lot of other really good players.
Chase McCabe.
I want some sort of trade protection.
Darren, Donick, and Chase have you covered weekdays from 10 to 2. Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling on Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Gary Ashton here. I love hearing people say, don't sell without the intel, because it means they're really embracing our message. Now's a great time to sell your home in Nashville, but you need the intel only the Gary Ashton team can provide. Intel that helps you sell your home without any staging or showings. Intel to find your next home so you can sell your current one while the market's hot. Intel to win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity now. Let everyone else get the same information and compete for the same properties, while you get the intel edge with the Gary Ashton team, the official real estate team for your Tennessee Titans. And if you're looking for a great career, join our team. We added 65 new agents last year, and we want you to join us this year. Remember, don't sell without the intel. And if you're looking for a great career, the Gary Ashton team wants you in 2022. Call 615-301-1650 or visit GaryAshton.com today.
Hey, Robby Stanley here, and the NBA playoffs are heating up, and you can make every game feel like Game 7 on FanDuel Sportsbook, an official partner of the NBA. Throughout the playoffs, all customers can place a no-sweat same-game parlay each week. You'll get up to $20 in free bets if you don't win. FanDuel has so many ways to play, and best of all, when you do win, you'll get paid faster than a fast break. I've told you about the Miami Heat. I still think they get it done against the Philadelphia 76ers. Give me Tyler Hero over on points coming off the bench as well, but you take it any way you want to take it. If you're new to FanDuel, just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app, sign up with promo code ROB to get your first bet risk-free up to $1,000. Once again, that promo code is Rob, and if you already have an account, you're all set to bet. Either way, you'll get up to $20 in free bets if your same-game parlay during the playoffs doesn't win. FanDuel Sportsbook, an official partner of the NBA. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Refund issued is non-withdrawable free bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Max free bet of $20 per week. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Folds of Honor provides educational scholarships to the families of military men and women who have fallen or been disabled while on activated duty in the United States Armed Forces.
Christian came to me full of tears, and he said, "Mom, am I still going to be able to go to college?"
I feel free of a burden that I wasn't able to overcome myself.
What they've gained in the Folds of Honor family is the ability for them to be remembered.
Because of Folds of Honor, my kids can live a dream that I wasn't sure was possible, and now I know it is for sure.
Since 2007, Folds of Honor has awarded nearly 29,000 educational scholarships. Join ESPN The Game Nashville, along with Dos Equis and Dale Supply Tempstar, by texting DONATE to 615-737-1025. Honor their sacrifice and educate their legacy. Donate now.
Later today.
Boom! 10-12 inside. Gotcha.
The stars of IndyCar hit the road course at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Indy Grand Prix.
Go, baby. Oh, boy, an IndyCar winner. Winner.
Coverage begins at 2
on ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Campbell, Knezovic here at ESPN 102.5 The Game Nashville app. Twitch, Twitter, YouTube is where you can watch us, where I'm actually rocking one of our 102.5 The Game polos today because I will be at Titans rookie minicamp today, so I had to put some real clothes on today. I'm Elijah Campbell, she's Michelle Knezovic, and we're getting interactive here on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and our good friend, Michelle, Adam in Portland.
Adam, yes. We're getting to you.
Loyal listener, listens to all the shows, and I enjoy getting to talk to Adam pretty much every day. And he says, Elijah and Michelle, y'all are way overhyping Matty Ice and the Colts. He went to the Super Bowl and was part of the worst collapse in football history, alluding to the 28-3 Super Bowl loss, and the franchise hasn't bounced back. I'm not seeing the leadership qualities y'all are talking about. He can throw it hard, but a new system is going to be a challenge for him. Colts will win 6 games. Now, that's a pretty intense take right there, because 6 games makes them 6-11. 11 losses in a division that still has the Texans and Jags. Mm-hmm. I know, and the last time we saw this Colts team on the field, they did lose a game to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and which was also an epic collapse, which is the reason they don't have Carson Wentz anymore and have Matt Ryan. I understand the not seeing the leadership qualities, because when we talk about leadership in football, and like a lot of times we're kind of like assuming based off things that they say publicly. Or a lot of acts they do publicly. Like, Michelle, you're alluding to the way he was welcoming new players, the way he, I guess, got to Indianapolis fast and seemed to have gotten on the field quickly. Like, that's kind of what we know. Yeah.
When he wanted a trade, didn't just take to social media, and he,
he wasn't tweeting
as an adult.
Yep.
Well, I mean, okay, so Charles Robinson comes on. I had something to say, Adam.
Oh, yes, Michelle.
No, So Charles Robinson, who is an NFL senior reporter for Yahoo Sports, comes on Robby and Rexrode about every Tuesday throughout the NFL season. Adam, I'm sure you've heard all the segments, but even just bringing up small points that lead to, and he even said he has so many contacts, whether it be in the front office of essentially probably every single NFL team, and said that was a huge problem, going from Phillip Rivers, right, an older guy who was a great quarterback, who will probably be in the NFL or in the Hall of Fame.
One day he can be in the NFL. If he tries really hard, he could be in the NFL one day.
In the Hall of Fame someday.
I agree with that.
And then going to Carson Wentz and, having all of these, and don't get me wrong, this is a weird season with all the vaccinations and obviously Carson Wentz. And we saw it on Hard Knocks a little bit because they were following their team this season.
Well documented.
Him not wanting to get vaccinated, and then that kind of just was this almost like umbrella over the team that just didn't start him off on the right foot. But if you look at this Colts team, they weren't bad this year. I mean, they almost beat the Bucs. Did they beat the Bills or almost beat the Bills? Like, they had some.
Oh, they did they bludgeoned the Bills. Like, they ran the ball all over them. It was Jonathan Taylor. I know, like, this market gets a little sensitive anytime someone talks about Jonathan Taylor, but that guy is legit. And if Derrick Henry regresses in the slightest, that man will be the best running back in the NFL. He is a stud. Absolute monster. Yeah.
Okay, so now we have another text on the John the Mailman, my guy. He texted in right at 9:01. Colts will win 9 of 10 games, but Matt Ryan will help rebuild the culture and accountability within the locker room. So I think we've seen it. This has been the Colts' problem since they lost Andrew Luck. They've had good pieces. They've had Darius Leonard. Mm-hmm. They've had Michael Pittman Jr., evolving as a wide receiver. They've had Jonathan Taylor at the running back position. They have really good players. It's essentially this quarterback position that they haven't been able to figure out. Mm-hmm. And when you have a revolving door like that for 5+ years, your team can't really mesh when most important position on the field continues to change and you're bringing a new person in every single year, which, don't get me wrong, Matt Ryan is, again, another different person. But what I'm saying is just with his experience, hopefully that it's not as hard of a transition as the Carson Wentz was, and his just leadership accountability. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to go to the Super Bowl, but I'm saying that they are going to be a bigger threat, I personally think,
very much so,
in the division. I'm not saying he's, him and Brian Tannehill's stats were pretty comparable, but he also was on the Falcons, where he didn't really have much going for him.
Exactly. Yeah, and like the Falcons weren't in win now mode the last few years. I mean, realistically, last year, because they didn't have Calvin Ridley at all, and that makes a huge difference. Like, Calvin Ridley meant a lot to that offense, and teams really zeroed in on Kyle Pitts and made Kyle Pitts' life a lot harder. And like, Kyle Pitts is a stud. I think he's going to be one of the better tight ends in the NFL within the next year or two. Like, I think he's going to take a significant leap, especially since the Falcons have invested in the wide receiver position in the slightest this year, this offseason, even though they lost basically everybody. You lost Calvin Ridley for the year, but you draft Drake London. They traded for Bryan Edwards from the Raiders yesterday, who I think is a really solid receiver, a sure-handed receiver. Like, that's going to make life a little easier for Kyle Pitts. And the Falcons, in terms of weapons, have gotten a lot better, but they haven't really committed to that the last few years, and they haven't been very good the last few years because of that. They have not been a franchise that is been in that go-for-it window, because they did have one of those just debilitating losses that you don't bounce back from. The franchise never did bounce back from, and it's the same thing that the Titans are trying to avoid here. But I think the new change of scenery will be beneficial for Matt Ryan. I know Adam was talking about how he thinks it's a detriment. I think it's actually going to be a benefit for him, because he's getting new scenery. He's getting better weapons. He's going to have a defense whenever he's not on the field, which was leaps and bounds better than the Falcons' defense last season. And honestly, the Colts adding on defense is what makes them a little scarier. Like, it's not the Matt Ryan trade that makes me feel like the Colts are better than last year. It's a lot of the additions they made on the defensive side of the ball and how well they drafted to make life for Matt Ryan a whole lot better. I would be very comfortable to bet pretty heavily that they don't win. They win a lot more than, maybe not a lot more, because I still, like what John the Mailman said, 9-10 games, yeah, I can totally see that. I can see them being 9-8 or 10-7. Because I think the Titans can be that same way too. I think the winner of the AFC South will have no more than 11 wins. And 11 wins is the absolute ceiling for the Titans and the Colts even. And those are two teams that I think are really good football teams. And the division's going to go down.
Now that you just said that, they're going to win like 12 or 13 games.
Watch the Colts win 14. Yeah, watch them just like absolutely be the best team in the AFC and just totally blow it out of the water now that I have actually jinxed it. But yeah, thank you for your text, Adam, and John as well. And if you want to chime in, 615-737-1025. I will pose this question while we still continue the conversation here. The question for our listeners: which game on the Titans schedule are you looking forward to the most? I've already said the Bengals. Michelle has said the Colts games, because those are going to be pretty significant. And Jared, before we even get to the break here too, we were talking off air because there's one game that you looked at the schedule and you're like, I want to go to that one. Which one was that?
Yeah, so I'm going to try to go to the Dallas Cowboys game. Because I think at the end of the season, I know that AFC-NFC thing, take that out of the picture and just think that they will probably need to win a game coming down the stretch, and that is one pivotal matchup. Also, it's at home, Monday night. Like, that's going to be a huge game, I feel like.
It's going to be a lot like the 49ers game. Like,
yeah, 49ers as well.
Same time of the year as the 49ers game last season. A playoff team. The 49ers are a playoff team this year. I think the Cowboys will be a playoff team this year. The Cowboys are also solid. Dak Prescott is one of just the many slew of quarterbacks the Titans are going to be facing. And like, he's the last who I would consider top 10 to 12 quarterbacks that they're going to face this year on the schedule. I mean, they end the season in Jacksonville against Trevor Lawrence, right? And we'll see what Trevor Lawrence does to make that jump from year one to year two. But that's going to be, you mentioned that one to me, Jared, and I said that one's going to be pivotal just because you're going to either be in like one or two positions. You're either trying to clinch the division or win the division, or you're going to try to hang on and be able to make it in through the wild card, because I highly doubt that the Titans are going to be out of this picture playoff-wise by Week 17.
Yeah, I agree. Also, going back to last year, like when the Titans played the Bills on Monday night, I went to that game and they seemed to kind of turn the season around after that. Obviously, they went on that good long stretch, I think maybe we're going to need something like that, but I think it's going to come at the later end of this year, maybe when the Titans know that their backs are against the wall and they have to maybe beat the Colts for the division.
Yep.
And another interesting question I want to pose to you guys as well, going into the break. I'll ask it to you. I'll let it marinate for a little bit. Let you have to kind of stew it over, because like my biggest takeaway from this Titans schedule is the amount of quarterbacks that they're having to face. Like, we are in an era of football in which quarterbacking has never been this good. And the Titans square off against Josh Allen, Derek Carr, Matt Ryan twice, Trevor Lawrence twice, Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts for what it's worth, Justin Herbert, and Dak Prescott. And when I reel off all of those names, even though the Titans have had a dominant defense in the last season, which one is the one that you think will give them the most trouble? We'll get into that on the other side as we kick off hour number 2 of Campbell Knezovic right here on ESPN 102.5 The Game, 106.3 in the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
1 week only. Electronic Express has massive sales on overstock, open box, demos, and scratch and dent products in every department. 4K TVs, appliances, computers, housewares, smart home, and more. We have deals on all of your appliances and electronics needs. Plus, buy now, pay later with up to 36 months free financing. Find a store near you at ElectronicExpress.com. Locally owned and operated. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
If you missed the latest from Robby and Rexrode,
it was kind of clear that there was some level of disconnect with him and John Hines. And I think the same was true of Ryan Johansson. And those guys have talked about it, all three of them, about their conversations. And I don't think there's any doubt that them kind of seeing what he wanted out of them helped them have better seasons. I mean, of course, it's still on the players on the ice, but coaches, their job is to put them in position to have success and get the most out of players. I think he did that this year. If you are going to completely dismiss that, then you just are focused on John Hines has to be gone, which is Jared's problem. I mean, Jared seizes on some challenge the other day, like it's the worst challenge ever, because he wants to find some reason that John Hines has to go.
I got a texter on the text line that says, Robby, welcome to the NHL. Our expectations are to put together an elite team. The issue is we're not putting a good enough product on the ice. We should expect nothing less. Well, that's what I'm talking about. The roster. This goes back to the roster. The roster is not good enough. That's my entire point. Do I need to be more clear on that?
I hear you.
All right, I'm just checking.
Tune in Robby and Rex with Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode. Weekday mornings from 6 to 10 on ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Hillside Medical Clinic. Is erectile dysfunction damaging your relationship? Are you sick of the pill and all the side effects? Well, welcome to the future. We have a major medical breakthrough. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most advanced form of wave therapy. Backed by 60 clinical studies, our technology uses pressure waves to repair and open up blood vessels. We've helped countless men get rid of their ED. But what is the true end result? Their relationship, even their lives, improve drastically. If you're ready to regain your love life, call us right now, and not only will the assessment and ultrasound be free, we'll also give you a gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. It almost never fails. This is worth $550, and it's free to callers right now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and experience what I call the happiness ripple effect. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now, 615-576-5000.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, with Stillman and Company.
Surprise, surprise!
I write down what was good, what was bad.
Afternoons from 2 to 6.
On ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
A Cromwell media station.
It's Campbell and Knezovic.
On ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
In week 2, the Titans square off against the Bills on Monday Night Football. Josh Allen quarterbacking the Bills. The next week, they will play at home against the Derek Carr-led Raiders, who had retooled with the addition of Devontae Adams. Then they play the Colts in week 4. A couple weeks later, the Colts again. And then they play on week 9 in Kansas City, primetime game against Patrick Mahomes, one-time Super Bowl MVP, one-time NFL MVP, and arguably the greatest quarterback in the league right now. Pretty good. And then the week after that, they get to play on week 10, the Broncos at home, quarterbacked by Russell Wilson. And then they go in Green Bay on a short week, Thursday night game at the Packers. The reigning two-time MVP, or the reigning back-to-back MVP, Aaron Rodgers, will be quarterbacking the Packers there. And then the next week they play on the 27th of November. They will play the Bengals in the Ultimate Titans revenge game at home, quarterbacked, like I said, by Joe Burrow and a retooled offensive line. And then they play Jalen Hurts, for what it's worth, at Philadelphia the next week in the potential A.J. Brown revenge game. Trevor Lawrence, and then at the Chargers with Justin Herbert in Week 15. And then just 2 weeks later, the game that Jared alluded to in the last segment, Week 17, against the Cowboys, they play Dak Prescott, who had a pretty damn good year last year. Listen to Campbell Knezovic kicking off the second hour right now, and I asked the question before the break, which quarterback on this schedule, on this murderer's row of quarterbacks, and even the ones I didn't mention, which are the ones that I basically shoot off to the side, are Trevor Lawrence, Daniel Jones in week 1, Carson Wentz, whatever, and whoever the Texans trot out there, which could be more than likely Davis Mills. But when I mentioned the quarterbacks earlier, which one, even though the Titans defense is as good as it is, you're like, man, that's going to give them the most trouble?
I mean, I think we talked about the Bengals earlier. Joe Burrow heading into his third year, just back for, I think he is going to, really towards the end of the year, because everybody kind of counted the Bengals out during the regular season. And maybe I just didn't pay attention, or
I did.
You counted. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like we all knew what he did at LSU and all of that. But really, if you think about it, beating Tennessee in Tennessee last year was when people, kind of did a double take of, oh crap, he really is the real deal. And everything, like the cool Joe, like cool Bert, like, do you know what I mean? He was on every single national TV, sacked 9 times, still won the game, like all of this stuff. And then goes on to go to the Super Bowl in his third year now?
It went to the Super Bowl in his second year. He's going into year 3 right now. And that first year was shortened because of an ACL injury. Yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So I think him, and then obviously just because of past circumstances in, losing that game. But also I want to get to the text line really quick, because our friend Junie, text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Junie texted in. He's one of our big NFL guys. Titans traveling to LA to play the Chargers with all the defensive additions they've made will be a rough road game to end the year. Herbert has emerged as a top QB in the league, and I think the Chargers are a Super Bowl contender with him playing at a top 5 level. We didn't get to see the Chargers in the playoffs last year. And I think that if we did, I think we would have seen a little bit more of, I almost said Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, right, out of Oregon emerge. And I think this is going to be a huge and pivotal year for him.
A major year for him. And I like what Junie mentioned too. They did make a ton of additions. They added Khalil Mack, and this is a Chargers defense that you could just tell we're a couple pieces away from making that like good to like great jump. And with the weapons they have on offense, with how good that offense can be, like I think Justin Herbert is a rising star in this league too. And that's like a name that almost gets forgotten just because his draft class counterpart just made that incredible run to the Super Bowl despite not having an offensive line. Like those dudes were turnstiles. Like we mentioned ad nauseum, the 9-sack game against the Titans, in which he still won. And the amount of times he's been sacked the last 2 seasons, like that's in the same category as David Carr. Like that guy getting sacked as many times as he did ruined his career. Like that's one of my like biggest what ifs in NFL history for me personally, is like David Carr could have been a really good quarterback if he just wasn't on his rear 70 times a season. And Joe Burrow is he's up there in terms of getting put on his rear. And a lot of it's not his fault either. I know sacks can be a quarterback stat sometimes too, because sometimes you can just hold on to the ball too long, but Joe Burrow's not that guy. He has just been brutalized because the offensive line has been so bad. And the Bengals this year have finally invested in an offensive line. So that is terrifying. But I definitely, I'm glad Junie said that too, because I agree that Herbert was up there for me. And I didn't want to just say Mahomes either because I feel like that's an easier answer, but I think Mahomes will have a harder time without Tyreek Hill.
Without Tyreek Hill.
I think replacing a deep threat like that, I think it'll be harder for them to open up the top of the defense. And I did see a little bit of a regression from Patrick Mahomes last season. I think teams have kind of figured them out a little bit. They play that too high safety, and it forces the Chiefs to completely change what they do on offense. And I definitely see a little bit of regression, or the gap between the best quarterback in the league to the other quarterbacks definitely get a little smaller, especially when it comes to Josh Allen. That's the guy I was going to pick because, Michelle, the more I watch like the all 22 angles of like the throws he makes, like they're unbelievable. Like he's my favorite quarterback to watch on those alternative angles, just because you almost don't appreciate some of the passes he makes. Like this guy can be rolling towards the sideline, throw across his body, across to the other hash mark, and just hit guys in stride. The same way Pat Mahomes can, but like Josh Allen is so much more lethal on his on the move with his feet that to me, like the modern quarterback now, like every team is trying to find their Josh Allen, right? They want to find their like physical specimen who can make those throws across his body, going against the sideline, and being able to just make plays happen out of nothing. Like I almost worry about. I know the Titans haven't lost to Josh Allen since he might have been like, I think that was his rookie season when they lost in Buffalo, and Josh Allen wasn't very good yet. I mean, like he's had to progress. I mean, like the progression of Josh Allen has been pretty remarkable.
Also, adding Roger Saffold to their line, that's gonna help a bit. Yeah. Obviously, Titans fans know who that is.
Fantastic run blocker.
Fantastic. And Josh Allen, I really think in the playoffs, I bring up this game all the time, but like who can't? The Chiefs-Bills game. I mean,
one of the greatest games we've ever seen. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're definitely the front runner. I mean, in my book and in most national coverage as well for preseason, Super Bowl winners. And they obviously ended up playing the Chiefs last year, but that would have been an interesting game if they played the Bengals. Like, would the Bengals have beat the Bills? I don't know. The Bills could have very well made it to the Super Bowl last year. I mean, they almost did, right?
They're 14 seconds away. They were getting a stop and 14 seconds away from going to the Super Bowl. And like, here's my biggest takeaway from that game too. When I watched it, it was like in the biggest game of the year for the Bills, they have an elite wide receiver on the field, and he didn't have to be the one that put up all those yards because Gabriel Davis had a breakout game. He had 201 yards on 8 catches, and he put on a route running display. And the more of those guys you can have on the field with a guy like Josh Allen who can just make plays even when they break down is incredible. And here's one thing, too, that separates the Bills last year from this year that I think is going to give the Titans a lot harder of a time is the addition, like you said, of Roger Saffold. What's the one thing this Bills team couldn't do last year? Run the ball. Their best running option was when they're passing the ball and the play breaks down and Josh Allen has to scramble. They didn't even run very well on design runs because the offensive line wasn't a great run blocking offensive line. What's the one thing Roger Saffold does as well as almost any lineman in the NFL? He run blocks. I'm a firm believer.
Also a durable player.
A really good run blocker. Like
he's on the field.
And here's the thing too. I'm a firm believer, Michelle, that you don't have to have a great running back to have a great running game. You just need, if you don't have that great running back, you have to have a great offensive line with great run blockers. I think Roger Saffold is a great run blocker. And if you want any proof of that, go back to the playoff win against the Patriots a few years ago when that was one of the greatest run blocking displays of football we've seen in a long time. So I think adding him and giving the Bills some sort of resemblance of a run game is going to be a juicy element to this team. I know it's week 2, so maybe they won't be as fine-tuned then, but if I'm a Titans fan and I'm looking at the schedule and I'm just looking at the quarterbacks are facing on the other side, I look at Josh Allen and I'm just like, damn, that one is going to be the one that really gives us the most trouble.
Well, and you talk about, home field advantage, Bills Mafia and their home stadium. I mean, I know a lot of people, I don't think a lot of Titans fans are probably traveling up to Buffalo for that game, on Monday night. They're pretty much going to have that. I mean, it's a Monday Night Football, right? It's a nationally televised game. They are going to come out as crazy as ever. And when they add the Roger Saffold edition, like we talked about, just in those colder months, not having Josh Allen having to throw the ball as much, when it's a lot harder and it's windy and it's freezing and it's like 10 degrees out and the windshield is just awful in Buffalo, New York. That's going to help him. That's going to help him a lot. And just one other thing about Roger Saffold is he was a player who he was hurt essentially a majority of the year for Tennessee and found himself on the field pretty much every single game.
Yeah.
So he's a durable player that can play through, is a tough player, can play through injury, not major injury, but like shoulder issues and things like that. And
he's gotten to that point in his career. Yeah, he's gotten to that point in his career where things can, your body kind of breaks down. Like he got his first year in the NFL was in 2010. So he's been in the league for 11 years now, and like you said, Michelle, he got hurt in a lot of different games, but played through it. He still appeared in 15 of the 17 games last year. He hasn't played in fewer than 15 games in a season since he was playing for the Rams. The St. Louis Rams. They were still in St. Louis the last time this guy didn't play more than 15 games in a season. So there's a lot to be said about that.
When it used to be a 16-game season. So essentially,
exactly.
He's missing 1 or 2 games, which to have somebody like that on an NFL roster, that's huge. I mean, what does Mike Vrabel always say? And we saw, obviously, Tennessee this year with the rotation of players getting injured and just not being able to get on the field. You need players who can get on the field, and I think that's a great addition for the Bills. And then also on the flip side, a loss for Tennessee. I mean, I know he was a guy that you were going to have to pay and you couldn't really afford to, but now the O-line for Tennessee, kind of a question mark there on who's going to go where.
Yeah, and who's going to play that guard position too. It's going to be a huge season for Dylan Radins. I know the station has done a really good job of on these platforms and shows of talking about the importance of Dylan Radins making that jump from year 1 to year 2. Like, this is the year you're really going to have to see it, and it's going to be almost like a now or never time for him now that he's actually acclimated into the NFL. So that's going to be interesting to see. There's another interesting text we got on the text line too that I kind of want to address, and I don't know if I exactly agree, but at the beginning of the segment, I shoot off a few quarterbacks from that list, right? I discarded about 4 of them. One of those, we have a texter on the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, I might be sleeping on. We'll get to him on the other side as you're listening to Campbell, Knezovic, ESPN 102.5 The Game, 106.3, and the Game Nashville app.
There's never been a better time to find out why BetMGM is the king of sportsbooks and my official sportsbook. Hey, it's Chase McCabe. Download the BetMGM app and place a $10 moneyline wager on any NBA playoff game. If either team hits a three-pointer in that game, you'll win $200 in free bets. All you have to do is use the code 1025GAME200 when you make your first bet. Sign up now and discover BetMGM's daily promotions, boosted odds specials, and more. Download the app or go to BetMGM.com. Use that code 1025GAME200 to win $200 if either team hits a three in any NBA playoff game. Just visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 years of age or older to wager. Tennessee only. New customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable free bets or site credit. Free bets expire 7 days from issuance. For problem gambling support, call the Tennessee Red Line at 800-889-9789.
Nashville is growing, and so are we. The Nashville Sheriff is hiring correctional officer trainees. Starting pay is $38,300. After 8 weeks paid training, earn $41,767. Come join our team and ask about our new paid job shadowing program. Join the best in correction. Apply now at sheriff.nashville.gov/apply or call 615-862-8170. That's 615-862-8170. The Nashville Sheriff, we're more than corrections.
I come from a military family.
That's Stasha at Genesis Diamonds talking about the Hero Rewards program at Genesis, providing special discounts every day for heroes in uniform.
Whatever their budget is, we're going to make sure it stretches the best for them and that they will get the most beautiful ring at the best value.
Special hero pricing on any item extends to all military plus police, fire, and first responders.
They make us have the great life we have, and we are eternally grateful for that.
Genesis Hero Rewards program and free services is yours for life, no matter where you move.
Travel anywhere in the world, we're one phone call away. So no matter where you're stationed, if you're military or if you're a police officer and you go to another state, we're going to take good care of you.
Of course, it doesn't hurt that Genesis owner Boaz Ramon is himself a veteran of the Israeli army.
Boaz, having served in the military, appreciates the military and what they do for us.
Genesis Diamonds, where our heroes in uniform get red carpet pricing and white glove treatment every day of the year.
Because they're there for us.
Genesis Diamonds and pre-owned Rolexes, continuously voted best jewelry store and best place to buy an engagement ring. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
One of the cool things about working at Cromwell Media, which owns this radio station, is that we all support one another and we celebrate with each other, like anniversaries. And we've got 2 teammates celebrating anniversaries in May. Roman Haviland, one of our talented part-time hosts on 1029 The Buzz, is checking off 10 years this month. And the chief architect behind 1029 The Buzz, brand manager and midday host Chris Atticus, passes the 2-year mark. Thanks, Roman and Chris, for making Cromwell Media such a special place to work.
The Sounds. Play ball. Swung on, that's still in the air. Deep right field, and that ball is gone. The Nashville Sounds continue their road trip against the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp.
Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sounds win.
Coverage begins at 5:20 on your home for Sounds baseball.
ESPN
94.9 and the Game Nashville app.
Breaking down the Tennessee Titans 2022 schedule, the quarterbacks they're going to have to face, and the tough road ahead to rebound to what hopefully isn't a Super Bowl window closing playoff loss to the Bengals. I'm Elijah Campbell. She's Michelle Knezovic, Jared Cassidy behind the glass. Beautiful Saturday morning here, and there was a text I wanted to get to, and I'm glad we were talking about this, about the quarterbacks they kind of discarded before we got into that segment. And one of those quarterbacks was the 2 from the AFC South. They were rookies last year, Trevor Lawrence and Davis Mills. John the Mailman texted into our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. I think people are sleeping on the Texans, a 7-8 win team, and Davis Mills has shown that he can be a reliable starter. Now, there's 2 parts here that I would like to at least address for us to address. And one is the Texans maybe winning 7 to 8 games, and then Davis Mills has shown that he can be a reliable starter. One, I don't think the Texans win 7 to 8 games. I don't think they've improved the team enough around them. I don't know if they have added enough weapons to where I'm like, okay, that's a good building block. Like, this team I think is going to be pretty bad. They ripped it bare. It was a bare bones team last year. And I don't know if they've done enough to get to 7 to 8 wins. I feel like that's Jacksonville Jaguar territory, right? I think the Texans can win 4 or 5, but I think 7 to 8 might be a little ambitious for this team this early. However, the one thing I'm not going to completely push back on is Davis Mills being solid, because, Michelle, you asked in the group text here before the break, you mentioned that was he maybe the most consistent quarterback in the rookie class last year? I know Mac Jones had a solid season. I don't want to say he had a great season. He had a solid season with the Patriots last year. But at the end of the season, Davis Mills had some solid games against the Seahawks in which they got beat by 20. He threw for 331 yards and a touchdown. He threw for 301 against the Titans in the last game of the regular season and threw for 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. These are numbers, too, that he definitely got better towards the end of the season. Had a 310-yard game, 2 touchdowns and a pick against the Rams, the Super Bowl champions, earlier in Week 8 of that season. Had a 300-yard passing game against the New England Patriots in a rookie-on-rookie matchup in Week 5. Like, there were some games in which Davis Mills showed a lot of glimpses, and Michelle, is John the Mailman right to maybe push back on me completely discarding Davis Mills from the tough Titans quarterback gauntlet they're going to be facing this year?
Well, okay, so I think what really made Davis Mills stick out to me, I mean, we counted the Texans out pretty much at the beginning of the season because of all the Deshaun Watson issues, and we knew he wasn't going to play, and there wasn't really – the roster just kind of looked depleted, right? And you get this quarterback who's drafted 67th, and we're like, Davis Mills, like, is this guy going to be good or play or anything? You know, I think as far as the sleeping on David, I mean, we saw him play against the Titans the second game of the season, playing very, very well, and almost won that game. And I just pulled up, I just Googled, like, is Davis Mills an underrated rookie quarterback? And if you look at the rookie quarterback class, right, it was Mac Jones, Davis Mills, Justin Fields, and who am I forgetting? Oh, Trevor Lawrence. And Mac Jones started in 18 games for the Patriots.
The entire season.
Davis Mills started in 11 games for the Texans. He ranked higher in every rookie quarterback category than every quarterback except for Mac Jones, who played in almost double the amount of games that he played in.
Yeah, and was basically declared the starter from as soon as the season started. Whenever they got rid of Cam Newton, it was established he was going to be the starter. Davis Mills really didn't get those reins until the Texans kind of moved on from Tyrod Taylor, which was at a decent length in the season.
And I think that this year is going to be a big year for, Justin Fields with Matt Eberflus being the Bears coach now. And I think that as far as if you look at talent and maybe potential and like ceiling, I think that Justin Fields could emerge as maybe the best quarterback.
Yeah, I'm not giving up on him yet. It was a really bad season, though. The Bears were in shambles.
Yeah. But I think that Davis Mills, I don't know about 7 to 8 games for the Texans because of the lack of weapons that he has. But I bet you Davis Mills has a great season. And as far as he won the last 2 of 3 in the final games of the season and finished with over 300 passing yards in 3 games.
With no weapons, too.
Solid. Exactly. And I think that's the big, at least for the Patriots, like Mac Jones, he had a running game and Bill Belichick, and you really never count the Patriots out. And Davis Mills didn't have that. It was a stretch for him to do as well as he did.
The Patriots also don't have really good wide receivers either. So, their best wide receiver last year was like Kendrick Bourne. And, we know how that turned out. Also, N'Keal Harry.
Solid. Yeah, N'Keal Harry is
if you take those two teams and compare them, they're very similar in the fact of the quarterback battles. Got him taking over, got Mac Jones over there. Mac Jones just had more games, so y'all are right.
Yeah, he knew he was going to be the starter all season long, and so I think it is fair to kind of put Davis Mills in that same breath as Mac Jones. They did have really comparable seasons, and honestly, defensively, the Patriots were really good, and that's what made the Patriots a playoff team, was because Mac Jones didn't have to win them games. Like the Texans were relying on Davis Mills to win them games, and it's funny because towards the year he did. I just don't know if they've added enough around him to expect them to win 7 or 8 games for me, because I think a lot of those extra wins in the AFC South that they're going to be getting this year are going to come from Jacksonville. Because here's the thing with Trevor Lawrence. He threw 17 picks last year, which is tied for the league lead, but his interception percentage was 2.8. Only 2.8% of his passes were interceptions. That's almost half lower than Mac Jones and Davis Mills. They were both sitting at 4% of their passes. He just had to chuck the ball a lot on a really bad offense that was habitually down 2 or 3 touchdowns each game, and he had to do more and was expected to do more than almost any rookie quarterback in the NFL. And despite his numbers aren't great. However, there is the 17 interception number can be a little deceiving in terms of the circumstances in which he played. I still think he's going to make the biggest jump of any of these guys going from year 1 to year 2 just because of that Urban Meyer subtraction. I don't think he could have been in a worse position. If there was anybody that could ruin a prospect like Trevor Lawrence, it would have been a college football coaching staff masquerading as a pro coaching staff in the NFL, led by arguably one of the worst people involved in the sport. So, I think that was definitely a big hindrance on him last season.
Well, and it doesn't help that there were reports that when they were about to go play the Rams, apparently Urban Meyer said, that 99 guy, we gotta watch out for him.
It's you imagine Jerry Sloan for the coach of Utah Jazz in the 90s watching film, oh man, that number 23 in red might be a tough guard. Might be a hard time guarding that guy. Or
and if you don't know who 99 is on the Rams, it's Aaron Donald. So if you're a quarterback, you want to watch out for that guy.
What? The memes coming from that one are hilarious. Like, I can't imagine like our beloved Terry Crisp watching film as a coach back in the day and be like, man, number 99 for the Oilers really skates really well. I mean, that guy, what's his name? Wayne Gretzky? He's good.
Oh,
he's
yeah,
good.
that guy.
Yeah, like that might be one of the funniest things, because there's a whole lot of not funny in that situation in terms of just like creating an incredibly toxic workplace environment, but there's a lot of funny, and that guy just looking at that film being like, this 99 guy looks like he might be a problem for us, even though he is an perennial all-pro, probably the best player in football, like hands down.
Even if you don't follow the NFL, you know who Aaron Donald is.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to.
That's pretty remarkable that, like, and I really, like, maybe he was kidding. I doubt it, but that might be one of the gold mines from the entire Urban Meyer debacle, was that story right there. And we'll continue this conversation on the other side. Before that, Jared, I know you had a good thought on, like, when you look at quarterbacks that I might have underestimated, because because between Michelle and I think we've named about 4 of those guys that we look at and like, okay, like elite, very scary, but there was somebody that you said not to sleep on.
Yeah, so you take away the big names, Mahomes, Josh Allen, all of those kind of players, those top-tier quarterbacks. Then you look at the game right after the Bills, and they will play the Las Vegas Raiders, who just got Devontae Adams, who sometimes put games together and shock people. I just think if that could be one of those games where, let's say the Titans do pull off and beat the Bills, right? And then you got the next week, you got the Raiders. Don't you think that they would kind of be like, we could beat the Raiders? So it could be kind of like a overlooked game.
A hangover game.
Yeah, it could.
Perfect for a team from Las Vegas.
Exactly. But it could play a huge role. I mean, obviously they do have to come here, so that does play a part in it too. But Vegas really isn't that far away. So
I like Derek Carr a lot. I love Derek Carr. I actually think he is one of the rising quarterbacks in this league too. Like, if you're a fantasy football player, an avid fantasy football player like I am, and you play in leagues that start 2 quarterbacks like I have fallen in love with doing, Derek Carr has got to be one of your guys this year. That he will be a steal later in fantasy drafts. And the fact that I can just even talk about fantasy football on air right now is fantastic. It gets me excited for the season. Really gets the juices flowing. But we'll go ahead, take a quick break, and on the other side, we'll continue the discussion. Titans schedule's out, but the Titans are also participating in rookie minicamp. Which rookies are we most excited to see, and which ones do we think are going to make the biggest impact if the Titans are going to want to run through this schedule, which a lot easier said than done. We'll also be taking your phones, calls, and text 615-737-1025. Text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll be back with more Campbell Knezovic here on ESPN 102.5 The Game, 106.3, and the Game Nashville app.
Realizing Geico is your one-stop shop for all your insurance needs is like realizing you can just toss the whole measuring cup into the washer so it won't get gunked up with laundry detergent.
I guess it doesn't work for coffee mugs, huh?
It's something that's been right in front of you this whole time, like how Geico offers 24/7 emergency roadside service to help you when you need it most. Or how athletic wristbands aren't for your wrists, they're for wiping sweat off your forehead.
Great. So, what are headbands for?
80s night at the dance club, woo!
It's something you can't believe you never realized before, like how Geico makes it easy to bundle your home and car insurance, with even more ways to save when you add boat, motorcycle, and RV insurance. Or how a pony is its own animal, and not just a baby horse.
So, what's a baby pony called?
Getting more ways to save. It's just one of the many reasons to switch to Geico. They're all right there in front of you.
Introducing the first Nashville location of Mayweather Boxing and Fitness in Midtown. Perfect for all fitness levels. Join a community that will help every person unleash their inner champ with fun, effective, and empowering group boxing circuit workouts. Become a founding member today. Stop by the brand new studio in Midtown at 2041 Broadway, Suite C, or call 629-206-9092 to join the family exclusive. Pre-opening rates now available. Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, the gold standard in boxing fitness. Folds of Honor provides educational scholarships to the families of military men and women who have fallen or been disabled while on active duty in the United States Armed Forces. Since 2007, Folds of Honor has awarded nearly 29,000 educational scholarships. Help families of soldiers who gave the ultimate sacrifice. Join the Game Nashville for a day of online and on-air giving. Monday, May 16th. Text keyword DONATE to 615-737-1025.
Nashville's Best Deals is a great place to save cash fast. Get up to half off or more on dining and entertainment at thegamenashville.com/deals. Check back often for new featured deals and save money now at thegamenashville.com/deals.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
They're still in good shape to make the playoffs.
and I-840,
Players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
there's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
I go back to that play and I shake my head. What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams. This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have two choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
Campbell Knezovic here in ESPN 102.5 The Game. Jared Cassidy spinning some Don Henley coming back. We were just talking off like during the break. Like one of the all-time greats, the all-time great CDs that I have ever owned. The Eagles' greatest hits from like 1971 to 75, the early 70s hits. Banger after banger on that thing. Like it never fails. But
did you go to the Eagles in Bridgestone?
I did not get to. I didn't know they were even going to be at Bridgestone until like the day or two before we were giving away tickets, and I was pretty bummed. Because like that'd have been a fun concert. I've never gotten to see the Eagles, even though it's almost like Earth, Wind, and Fire. You're getting like the last like 2 or 3 survivors, the guys that are still around. They don't have many of them left.
It was quite the lineup. It was like Eagles 2 nights, Bon Jovi, Journey, and then I think there was like a Preds game in there.
Exactly, yeah. Oh, Bridgestone, man. Like they went through a couple week stretch where they were just on fire. Because I went to, I saw Tame Impala there a week before I ended up going to see Preds Oilers, and like I was like, that's really cool. Like for one night, for 2 weeks, like Tame Impala one night, Preds Oilers the other. Like that's some high quality entertainment there. So Bridgestone Arena is back. It is in prime form right now. That was a great.
Going to see Justin Bieber soon, so I cannot wait. This week.
Oh, Justin Bieber's coming to town. I think Kendrick Lamar will be coming to town. He announced a tour. I'm a big Kendrick Lamar fan. I think he's gonna be here like in July or something like that. But
listen, Nashville's a fun city.
It
is
a
great city.
I mean, the Music City nickname doesn't just come from thin air. So there's a good loaded lineup coming in, and in terms of lineups coming into town, there's a lineup of rookies that are in town right now for Titans rookie minicamp. I am excited to go to that. As you can see on the stream, I've mentioned it, I am wearing big boy clothes today. It's not just a graphic tee, basketball shorts, and Nike slides today. I'll be able to go get some videos for everyone that is dying for Malik Willis throwing vids. I will help provide you those today. Or if you want to see guys running in and out of routes or non-contact drills, I will be your guy today. I'm excited to be that guy for today. But, Michelle, we look at these Titans rookies that are coming in. I mean, Traylon Burks, I don't know if he had like an injury or whatever, if he tweaked something in camp. He left earlier. I haven't gotten much elaboration on what happened, so I hope to be able to see him today a little bit. But when you look at the Titans rookies, I'll exclude Traylon Burks and Malik Willis because I think they're the most popular, the most polarizing too, the quarterback and the receiver. But which of these Titans rookies do you think will actually have the biggest impact that maybe hasn't been talked about enough so far when evaluating this draft class?
So his name is slipping my mind right now. Who's our corner who we drafted?
My man, Roger McCreary.
Roger McCreary, I am so excited to see because I think, we've seen just the league as a whole, how important elite wide receivers have been. And then on the opposite end, you need some corners who can block them in addition to Christian Fulton and guys that they already have. I am really excited to see how he is in rookie minicamp because obviously the main two, Traylon Burks, Malik Willis.
Mm-hmm.
Which is funny. I feel like people are more excited for Malik Willis just solely because he is at the quarterback position, and to see him throw, and maybe a little connection between him and Treylon Burks. But I am very excited to see McCreary because I do think that he can be a guy that is going to be play now.
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to be a rookie
Right
who
away.
needs to like develop, which Malik Willis fans, unfortunately, some of you, I know you want to see him out there, but he is definitely a rookie that is going to need to develop and learn a lot because he is at that quarterback position. But McCreary's a guy that we're going to see, I mean, hopefully week 1, right? And hopefully impact this roster a lot this year. So I think he's probably, you know, aside from Treylon Burks and Malik Willis, he's definitely going to be that solid third for me. And I guess it kind of goes in order because he was the second pick for him.
Oh yeah, it is. But like Roger McCreary is like one. Like at first, I wasn't crazy about the pick when it first happened because I was like, wow, so you're taking a corner in the second round, like. What do they think of Caleb Farley? Like, is he going to be healthy enough to be a contributor like this year? Because you're going to have to need him to be. So if you draft him the second round, what does that make you think of the corner you drafted in the first round last season? But it makes some sense. Like Teron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, did a really good job of explaining to me that like it's an insurance thing. He was high on it, a lot higher than I was on it, because he did say it's like an insurance pick. Like, you are, like we mentioned, the amount of teams that the Titans are playing with explosive quarterbacks. Well, those explosive quarterbacks have explosive offenses. And even the guys like Jalen Hurts, who you wouldn't even put in the top 5 or 6 of quarterbacks the Titans are facing this year, have explosive weapons. Like, he now has A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith on the other side of the ball, and having depth at that corner position is going to be huge. Christian Fulton's come along really nicely, and if Roger McCreary can be kind of what Caleb Farley wasn't last year, and Caleb Farley can kind of still ease his way in after recovering from injury, 2 injuries really, then it's going to be, I guess, a more advantageous situation. So we were trying to get Derek Mason on, not R.D. Mace, but the former Vanderbilt head coach who is now the defensive coordinator for Oklahoma State. He was Roger McCreary's defensive coordinator at Alabama last year.
Awesome.
And I sent him a text, try to get him on the show or whatever, and he wasn't available at the time, but he did say he loves Roger. He's the real deal, 100 emoji. So if he gets the 100 emoji, there's some dog in him. That's the rule. That's law. If there's a 100 emoji involved, he's got that dog in him. So I think we can at least say, if we were going to limit our analysis to modern slang, Roger McCreary, it's got that dog in him. So I'm excited to see him play a little bit today too, but I'm still, and I mentioned it on the 6 earlier this week, and I talked with Teron Davenport about it when he was on with me on Thursday, is that I really would like to see Chig Okonkwo in person, the tight end they drafted from Maryland, and for the sole reason that the biggest comp he got, not just from Teron, but from a lot of NFL draft analysts, was like, this guy has a lot of Jonnu Smith in him. And what does Jonnu Smith do really well? He is a guy who, even though he didn't play very well in New England last year, I think they didn't use him correctly, is he is insanely versatile. He is a really good athlete. He is someone who can take handoffs out of the backfield. He can run sweeps. He is really versatile because his athleticism is out of this world. And he is fantastic in the red zone. And you look at last year's Titans offense to the 2020 Titans offense, which is arguably the best that we've ever seen the Titans offense. The biggest difference, outside of maybe a handful of interceptions, I know people are going to say Ryan Daniels interceptions, but it wasn't a dramatic difference. He had more, but not a dramatic difference, is the production in the red zone. The reason Ryan Tannehill's QBR and his quarterback ratings were so high is because they were converting red zone trips to touchdowns. He was throwing touchdown passes because he had a really good target in Jonnu Smith, who excels in the red zone. And the Titans' red zone production fell off a cliff last season in terms of converting red zone chances to touchdowns. And I think that is a significant thing to maybe get that element of your offense back, which can be the difference of being a top 6-7 offense to being an offense outside the top 15. That could be a big difference. And if they get a guy like that back who is reliable in the red zone, and then you also have this versatility factor that you can almost use him as a human chess piece out there on the offense and be able to move him all over the place strategically, I think we're going to get a really good gauge too of what the Titans offensive mind trust here with Todd Downing and Kelly, the passing game coordinator, is coming in to be able to what they can do with him. I think is going to be a good measuring stick of what their abilities are in these specific roles. And seeing him up close and personal today is something I'm looking forward to, just because he that athletic ability, I want to be able to see it, and I'm excited to be able to see what I can expect, what little you can expect from a guy who's out there, in shorts and no pads. But that is a rookie that I love.
Elijah, I completely agree, and I think when Arthur Smith was with Tennessee, we saw Ryan Tannehill be able to utilize that tight end position, and he was more successful at point blank. Whereas last year, you didn't have these top elite level tight ends that they were looking for, and just the ability to be more versatile for him, right? AJ Brown and Julio Jones were kind of in and out with injuries, and then it was Nick Westbrook-Akina. But sticking on the offensive side, another guy I'm really looking forward to, 5th round pick, Kyle Phillips out of UCLA.
Yes.
And I saw a lot of videos yesterday where Jim Wyatt kind of tweeted out in one of his articles for the team that he was the most impressive of the day, making some diving catches. I guess he made like a pretty sick spin catch with Malik Willis. And, that could be another guy that is going to just beef up that wide receiver room with the loss of AJ Brown.
Yep, what you needed
to
add.
Listen, Treylon Burks is not going to be able to walk in and fit into those shoes right away. That does not mean I'm saying he's not going to have a good season. It's just big shoes to fill. I mean, AJ Brown literally is emerging as one of the top wide receivers in the entire NFL. And Treylon Burks is still a rookie just trying to transition into the NFL. So you can't put all of that pressure on him. But I think what the good thing is that if you have, a deeper wide receiver room, you've got more tight ends, you just have more options for Ryan Tannehill, because you don't have that one guy who you can count on essentially whenever, which was AJ Brown for him when they were on the field together.
Yeah, that's I love being able to find guys who can add to your wide receiver depth is great, because those are the guys that aren't going to get the attention of the other defenses. And if they have that ability, you can be able to exploit some matchups. And Kyle Phillips is a really good one to look out for. And there's just a lot of intrigue with this Titans rookie class, because they're going to be asked to do a lot. Like you said, it's not even very fair for what the Titans will be asking of Treylon Burks, what the Treylon Burks expectations are going to be, just because what have we seen in the NFL the last few years? Rookie wide receivers that are able to take off and be instant players day one. Guys who are instantly going to be really productive. And you can't expect every rookie to come in and be Justin Jefferson. They don't all become that good that fast right off the bat. You also don't want them to come in and be Jalen Reagor either. And those are two guys that were drafted right next to each other. And you don't want that to happen. Those are the two ends of the spectrum here. You just want Treylon Burks to come in here. I have high expectations, but I keep them curved. I'm saying 700 to 800 yards. Even that would be considered a really good rookie season. But you don't want to put too much on him already, because the expectations are already going to be what I would consider unfair, because he's coming in to replace essentially AJ Brown. So
and everybody's saying, you traded an AJ Brown to draft an AJ Brown, but we need to be very clear that this is not just AJ Brown has been in the league for a couple of years and has definitely, earned that elite status. Whereas it's going to take a while, but I do think if, like you said, they have more options, that, it could be tricky for defenses, right? Because it's not, we're going to double coverage on AJ Brown, right? And he still probably will catch the ball. So
yeah, it's and especially in the AFC, with all these teams that have just added up with weapons too, you got to be able to maintain and keep up. And the progression of those two is going to be pretty significant. And even Okonkwo too, because he'll be another offensive weapon they're going to rely upon a lot. The progression of those guys is going to be really important to see how the Titans go from here on out. And one last segment to go in the show, Michelle. I'm going to we're going to do a little throwback here. Because there's a lot going on in pro sports, which we mentioned at the beginning of the show. NBA playoffs, Stanley Cup playoffs. There's money to be made today, and there are some picks to be made, as I see Jared Cassidy grin from ear to ear behind the glass He knows where we're getting to. We will get to some picks on the other side to close out Campbell Knezovic right here on ESPN 102.5 The Game, 106.3 in the Game Nashville app.
Get a great deal on versatile Kubota equipment today, like Kubota BX and L Series compact tractors, part of our under 100 horsepower tractor lineup rated #1 for reliability. Z Series mowers and Sidekick utility vehicles. Stop by your local Kubota dealer today. Bring home the Kubota L2501 tractor for 0 down, 0% APR for up to 60 months, plus save up to $1,100 now through June 30th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for more details.
2 locations to serve you, Columbia Kubota or Franklin Kubota. Visit them online at ColumbiaKubota.com or FranklinKubota.com.
The NBA playoffs are getting wild, folks, and you can make every game feel like Game 7 on FanDuel Sportsbook, an official partner of the NBA. Joe Rexrode here to let you know that throughout these playoffs, all customers can place a no-sweat same-game parlay each week. You get up to $20 in free bets if you don't win. FanDuel has a lot of ways to play. When you win, you get paid faster than a fast break, safe, secure, easy. In these playoffs, man, Warriors-Grizzlies has been something else. I know the Warriors look like maybe they have the edge right now, but I think that one still has some twists and turns ahead. Of course, a lot to do with John Morant's health. If you're new to FanDuel, just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app, sign up promo code Joe102, get your first bet risk-free up to $1,000. Again, that's promo code Joe102. And if you already have an account, you're all set to bet. No sweat. Either way, you get up to $20 in free bets if your same-game parlay during the playoffs doesn't win. FanDuel Sportsbook, an official partner of the NBA. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Refund issued is now withdrawable free bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Makes free bet $20 per week. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
What if you could be debt-free in 3 weeks? Hey, Willie Donick here. My friends at Loan Pronto are helping people do it every day. It's Loan Pronto's debt consolidation home refi, wiping out tens of thousands in credit card debt. Listen, your home's value is way up. You can refinance now, take money out to pay off all your credit cards, eliminate PMI charges, pay off personal loans, or other high-interest debt. One local couple had over $50,000 in credit card debt. Loan Pronto did a debt consolidation refi. And even though their mortgage rate went up a tad, they cut their monthly payments by $900. Why pay 20% interest when you can consolidate it to one low payment with a mortgage APR in the 3s? Homeowners who do it save an average of $800 a month. Do it now and even skip your next house payment altogether. That's what I call financial freedom. Call Loan Pronto now. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781. Subject to lender approval.
Throughout the country, buried pipelines are indicated by a pipeline right-of-way. A long, wide stretch of grass cleared of trees and marked with signs. If you have a right-of-way near your home, do not plant anything in it or dig in it. Do not install a fence or build your kids a super cool fort without first getting the pipeline operator's approval. For more on pipeline safety, visit pipesafety.org. A message from the Tennessee Gas Association, Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
ESPN's Teron Davenport breaks down the Titans like no other.
On the field chemistry, I don't think it's going to be a problem. It's just going to be a process.
Catch TD Mondays at 11, Thursdays at 3, and Fridays at 8. Plus, the Talking with TD podcast drops every Wednesday.
When you draft players, it's not just for one season, it's for a career.
Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Final segment here. ESPN 102.5 The Game. Campbell and Knezovic. I'm Elijah Campbell. She's Michelle Knezovic. Jared Cassidy behind the glass. Jackson Brown's eyes can't see, but I can see some money in our future because there's some games tonight on your favorite sports betting app that you can win some money on. We're going to help you do that tonight. It's almost like the give and go, which we did during the courtside days, RIP the college basketball season. But today we have... miss it so much. But there's a lot to bet on today. Stanley Cup playoffs tonight. There's 3 Game 7s tonight. We are in a perfect sporting time of the season, part of the calendar. And there are some games in the NBA, 2 Game 7s tomorrow night. We'll go ahead and so for tonight at least, we'll start the Stanley Cup playoffs because those are the games that are tonight. 3 Game 7s, Carolina, Boston, Toronto, Tampa Bay, Edmonton, Los Angeles, and I will go ahead and in terms of we'll do this the give and go format, and we'll get everybody involved here too, just to stick with the hits. And I will say Carolina Hurricanes, their favorite -140, but I'm going to go Hurricanes just money line for tonight. However, you can put a little more on it to make more money because I have that as a lock. I'm using the lock early. I say Carolina beats Boston, takes the Bruins home. This has the home teams won each game in this series. I know the Hurricanes don't have Freddie Anderson, and that's a big loss. And if the Hurricanes are going to want to win the Stanley Cup, they need Freddie Anderson in net. But the way this Hurricanes team has scored at home in this series, like it's a big difference. And you saw what the Hurricanes did at home in the series against the Predators last year. They're really good with this core of players at home in the playoffs. I have a really good feeling they win this game tonight. You know what? Take them on the puck line. Let's go Hurricanes -1.5. I think this might be the game tonight. If you're going to go puck line, this is the one. So I'll go Hurricanes -1.5. And the Hurricanes money line is the guarantee.
Elijah, I like that one. It's funny. We did these on Robby and Rexrode yesterday, and I feel like I'm already changing my pick. Good thing I didn't place it yet. But I originally, here's the thing. It's game 7, but every game at home has been like a clear home win, right? And now they're in Carolina tonight. I do think that Carolina is the better team. Mm-hmm. And I think that Boston is going to make it close just solely because it is a game 7. And obviously each team wants to move on. I think Carolina on the money line, I like that pick. But as far as the spread, I'm going to do Bruins plus the 1.5.
Okay, thinking they cover that one. It is a game 7 too, so like there is something to be said about the intensity of a game 7 in the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's gonna be fun because if there's any playoff year to pick a bunch of puck line games, it's this one because there have been like an abnormal amount of blowouts. It's really weird. It's hard to almost pinpoint which ones are actually going to happen. So Jared, the one I'll present to you is Carolina, just on the money line. You giving or going?
Nope.
Oh, his Boston sports allegiances will not let him do it.
I have said before, I'm definitely not a Bruins fan. I'm a Preds fan, but
there's some allegiances there. A little bit.
The bees are buzzing right now. The bees are buzzing. So I will take the Boston Bruins. I will take them on the money line, and I would also take them on the puck line because I think it's going to be a close game.
Yeah, and okay, so that's 2 for Carolina, 1 for Boston, and there's something to be said because this Bruins core, this might be the last year. You have the Marchand, Bergeron core with Pasternak, so they don't have much time together. It is almost now or never for that group of guys.
Plus the Cassidy angle on that too. I think that he is in a tough spot right now. Not that we share the same last name, but that he is in a tough spot. I feel like he is kind of coaching. I wouldn't necessarily say for his job, but maybe to maintain his job. I don't know. Sounds
or to
weird,
feel secure in it.
Yes,
like he's coaching for security.
For the seat not to be lukewarm.
Yeah,
that's how I should put it.
That's a good way of putting it. Second game 7 tonight. Toronto and Tampa Bay. Now Toronto, they've lost their last 7 playoff series. This is a market that is, not even thirsty, not even starving. They are 6 feet under because of how much they've been deprived of a winner in that city. But at the tough Tampa Bay draw, they've pushed them to 7. I'm going to go Toronto at home tonight to seal the deal. I think they finally, they got to do it eventually, right? They can't keep losing in the first round.
Yes, they can.
And I'm going to be the idiot who took them to win. And I just believe in that Austin Matthews line so much that it would be a crime for them to and usually I pick the team with the better goaltender. I think Jack Campbell plays just well enough, but here's the money part here. Go over. The over-under 6.5. I think it's 4-3 Toronto in this game. It is there. They will be goals aplenty. Hammer the over. Take the Maple Leafs.
Ooh, I am not taking that one, Elijah. I think this Tampa Bay team has the cup all in their eyes right now. I think that they're going for the 3-peat. I think Steven Stamkos is going to have a huge game. I say 2 or more goals for this guy. And I think the pressure of just the fact that Toronto can't get out of the first round in Toronto tonight is going to be, because you think that's not all they're hearing, like in the back of their mind, like, why can't we freaking do this? We have a good team.
There are going to be some ghosts in that building that are going to be haunting it for the first 2 periods or so of that game. Like, it is going to be a tight atmosphere. So that's okay.
So I'm taking on the money line Tampa. I'm also taking Tampa plus the 1.5 because I think it'll be a closer game. I think it will be decided by 1 goal. I'm going to say it's a high scoring game as well. So take the over. I could see a 4-3, but the other way, Elijah. Tampa 4, Toronto.
So we loving the common denominator is the over. Jared, what are you feeling for this one?
Leafs. Go Big Blue, one time for the kid.
One time for the kid.
I'm sorry. Did you say go Big Blue? You know what that means, Mr. Tennessee Vol.
Well,
Jared's a Kentucky fan.
We're going to clip that soundbite, and anytime, once the college basketball season rolls right around and Jared objects to anything Kentucky related, we will have to use that as a drop.
I did it to myself.
Oh, yes.
He did it. He walked right into that. Jared walked right into that. Now, you want to talk about like buildings in Canada where the quote-unquote pucker factor will be an 11 out of 10. Edmonton and Los Angeles tonight. Game 7 there. The Oilers, can they waste another year of 2 elite goal scorers and another year of Connor McDavid's prime in which this guy might go down as one of the best modern-day hockey players we've ever seen? They very well can do it. Do we trust Mike Smith to win them this game? This is the one that I don't feel the best about, but I don't think of Los Angeles as a second-round team in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So, like, I hate taking all favorites and all home teams, but I will take the Oilers here on the puck line because when they do win games, they have been winning them by a lot. They did win one in overtime. However, the other 2 are blowout wins. They had an 8-0 win and a 6-1 win in this series. I like Edmonton minus the 1.5.
Elijah, completely agree on that one. Give me the Edmonton Oilers. I think they're the better team. Sorry, LA, but Oilers all the way.
Oilers, chalk.
Yep, a lot of chalk right here. And then
Canadians.
It's right. And lastly, the NBA tomorrow, 2 Game 7s, Milwaukee and Boston. Boston favored by 5 in that game. I don't know if the Celtics have ever lost 3 games at home after the first round in franchise history. If they have, it is sparingly. But I'm going with the Bucks on the money line, the championship pedigree. I know the Celtics are elite defensively, but the Bucks have tapped in. They've been one of the better teams all season long. I love this Celtics team, but the way Giannis has played right now, and you give me a Game 7 and a must-win game, I'll take him to win straight out.
I disagree. I have been calling Boston since I saw the first 2 games against the Nets and how well this Boston team has played together as a team. As we've watched Jason Tatum just, immerse as an NBA superstar in front of our eyes consistently every single game he has played in the last 2 series. I called Boston last night in Milwaukee. I know this is a Game 7, but it's in Boston. I do think that I'm going to take Milwaukee plus the 5. I think it's going to be a little bit closer of a game. Close. Maybe, 2 or 3 points, maybe 1 point. I think it's going to be, a nail biter, but I think the home crowd in Boston, we know Boston fans are crazy. I think Jason Tatum's going to take them to Eastern Conference Finals. And the winner of that will play the Miami Heat, who just beat the 76ers. Also, what's the under-over of that one, Elijah?
207.5.
I'm taking the over.
Yeah, the over feels
I think it's going
right.
to be a huge scoring game on both sides of the ball.
All right, Jared, you can't bet against your Celtics.
Yeah, I can't. No, I would. The game is scary, but definitely I think the over 207 was my play, and I might even take the Bucks with the +5 spread.
Okay. Yeah. And lastly, real quick, we're up against it. I have these Suns are 6-point favorites. I'm taking them minus the 6, and I'm locking that bad boy in too. I feel good about that. Michelle?
I think Luka's going to have a big game. I'm taking the Mavs plus the 6. Give me the Suns on the money line. I think they advance to the West and play the Warriors.
All right, Jared, real quick on the way out.
Yeah, Suns money line, and I would take the +6 spread.
Okay, I'm the only one giving up the 6 right there, but a fun game that will be. That is all we have for today. We will continue the discussion next week here on Campbell Knezovic. You can hear us on the 6th during the week, in the 6 o'clock hour on weeknights as well. You've been listening to Campbell Knezovic right here on ESPN 102.5 The Game, 106.3 in the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
The Gallatin Hotel is a vibrant and charming boutique hotel tucked into East Nashville and was voted the #1 boutique hotel in East Nashville by TripAdvisor. Not only is the Gallatin unique by design, but they also give away the majority of their profits to those who need it most and provides beds, food, and supplies to Nashville's underserved communities and those experiencing homelessness. Just one more reason to love your stay at the Gallatin. Visit thegallatinhotel.com to book your stay now. The Gallatin Hotel. It's good vibes only.
Attention, buckaroos! It's time for the Franklin Rodeo, so saddle up and hold on to your lasso. It's 3 days of bull riding, calf roping, western wear, funny clowns, and some of the most talented horses you've ever seen. Join the Stampede from May 19th to May 21st. The Franklin Rodeo is held at the Williamson County Ag Expo Park and is brought to you by Franklin Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, Williamson Medical Center, Wesley Mortgage, and Event 1FX. Tickets on sale now at franklinrodeo.com. It's a buckin' good time.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
NASCAR